Guys, you know how amazing it would be if we could make more homes, right? More affordable in places that are luxurious, potentially, right? That would be absolutely amazing. Right? If we can get just more overall houses, and there is a gigantic amount of empty spaces because, guys, commercial real estate is falling, guys. If you have not been looking around or not been reading the paper, let's say, guys, if you have not been paying attention here, commercial real estate has fallen. Ask anyone in the commercial real estate space trying to finance any type of like large scale project or property. They're struggling, guys. Right? The interest rates are absolutely absurd, and that's only if you can even get through the overall pre-qualification of that very specific loan, which you're probably not going to because they don't want a loan on commercial property right now, bro. Right? So wouldn't it be better if you can just rezone it, sell the building, let developers come in, redevelop the area, and bring, I don't know, 800 brand new spaces for people to live in. Guys, we need more houses, right? We do. What do we have? 141 or 39 or so. Let's say 140 million homes. 80 million of those homes are going to be like single family, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses. And guys, and all of the affordable ones are gone. Why? Blackstone bought them. Right? Blackstone, of course, being like an alternative asset investment type of company, guys. Yeah, they're going to buy that up. They realize the stock market is not moving the way it used to, let's say. And real estate would be the best course of action, actually, to jump into for any type of financial gain. So what they have done, Blackstone, is that they have gone in directly and started buying up all of the actual houses that the average American can afford. Right? Buying them all up, right? Bringing the overall market value up on houses that are not worth what they were listed at, guys, right? Fighting with the people that are actually getting like FHA loans or like 30-year conventional loans, by offering cash offers to the sellers. I mean, great for the sellers, absolutely. But the problem is that, guys, the average person can no longer afford to purchase a house in America unless you are excessively wealthy, I would say, guys. So by making more property, obviously, in return, it will start bringing all the property values down to where the average American can now afford a piece of property. Guys, they can live their own very specific American dream, right? But all right, guys, listen. Let's go ahead and check this out immediately.
Many American offices are sitting empty.
New numbers showing 94 million square feet of empty office space in Manhattan. That is an all-time record.
Huge investors like
lot.
Blackstone and Brookfield are staring down defaults in their office portfolios. Meanwhile, finding an affordable apartment can feel impossible, which has a lot of mayors talking.
We have a great opportunity to change the mix of uses in the downtown.
Make it easier to convert unused office space to housing.
So the thing about office to apartment conversions is it sounds like a great idea. Nobody's going to the office. We need more housing supply. Why not just turn all the office buildings into apartments? Not quite as simple as it sounds.
Not every office building makes for a great conversion.
No.
Not every conversion should be done. Not every building should be
Old
converted.
buildings are really good, guys.
In some cities, the laws are making conversions difficult.
It was about 3% of the New York stock that we saw as being convertible. And that took into account differential of price between offices and apartments, which has not actually diverged as much as people may think.
But in places that have a lot of older office buildings, there's a lot of conversion activity.
Yeah. Like
some
1930s,
big cities are looking at incentives for
1920s.
developers who convert buildings into housing.
Nobody does things in the real estate world out of the goodness of their heart.
No.
You have to find ways to either require or incentivize these things to happen.
What's stopping cities from converting more offices into
Lower
apartments?
the taxes,
And what
more people
challenges
will
do
do it.
developers face when taking on these massive endeavors?
Guys, if you give these people that are going into it, like, bro, 1%, 2% loans, they'll do it. They'll do it. Absolutely. There's no doubt here. Like, even while like residential real estate is so high in terms of like the interest rates. If you were to give these investors or these developers 1 or 2% or even 0%, guys, they'll do it. No doubt, they'll do it. Lower property taxes. Imagine.
The office conversion trend is heating up in a small group of cities, led by Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia.
We are right now in the Poplar Building in Philadelphia. The building was built approximately 100 years ago as offices and manufacturing space for Strawbridge's Clothiers. It was a giant department store in the last century.
This building is one of several conversions conducted by the Post brothers.
Physically, may have had some characteristics that people might think would make for a tough conversion. For instance, it's 100 feet wide by 400 feet long.
That means lots of dark interior space.
The first consideration for a lot of these buildings is about access to light and air. That's why you see in some situations real creative redevelopment of these buildings where people are driving a core into the middle of the building to allow for additional
natural
windows
light
in the middle.
Yeah.
We took a building that was a perfect rectangle, carved it into an E.
It's extremely complicated, it's expensive.
You also have issues of where does the plumbing lines run? And, you know, it sounds silly, but you got to have a bathroom in every apartment or
Right.
more than one. And if you only have a single line of plumbing or a single area of plumbing, because think about the offices, the bathrooms are only in one part, it's going to be much more expensive to convert that.
Builders call this technique remassing.
Yeah.
And
Guys, the thing about this, really quickly, I just want to interject. I like the whole idea of this. Right? This is a way to bring more houses to the market, which then in return lowers the overall market value of the other houses greatly, right? Luckily, right? But it also just it has the ability to get people to stop renting, guys. Right? Good
and
thing,
it comes
guys.
in different
Good
levels
thing.
of
Very
intensity.
good thing.
The Poplar in Philadelphia received a light touch.
We have units that are 50 feet deep as opposed to the typical 25 to 30 feet deep. We're able to make them work with things like what are called borrowed light bedrooms or interior bedrooms with a light and make really attractive layouts, even though the floor plate might not seem ideal.
But see, this is the problem, though, right? Like, we can go in, make these buildings, or how about this? Not me, I'm not doing this, bro, right? But developers can go in, do these things, but they need to make these things affordable, though, right? I understand developers are in this, honestly, to make as most money as they humanly possibly can, guys, by putting the most luxurious things into buildings, right? But the problem with that is that you're still now, these buildings are going to sit empty, right? Why? Because they're still not affordable, bro, right? You don't need to put in the marble, the glass everywhere, right? Like these super like modern things, guys. People just need a place to live, right? And if they want these things, they can later on go in and put those in. Like they need to start making base model houses. Like we have base model cars, make some base model houses for the people, guys, right?
Converted apartments tend to be pricey, much like other real estate in the U.S.
In a hot market where there's a lot of demand for housing and a lot of growth, such as Denver or San Francisco, that conversions could potentially address maybe 10% of the housing need. That still leaves the other 90%. And so there's clearly like a need to think bigger about how we're going to build more housing.
And make it
Back in
affordable.
Philadelphia, the typical household makes enough to afford about $1,300 in rent a month. At the Poplar, single bedrooms can rent for $2,000 a month. Then there are projects like the Atlantic, where units can rent for $3,000 to $6,000 a month.
Bro, imagine spending $6,500 a month for a one bedroom. This is disrespectful, guys.
In 1920,
like think of the median income in the country, right? Think of that one very specific thing. I understand location. I get that, guys. I get it, right? But I guarantee you, if they start selling all of these empty office buildings that have no tenancy, guys, right? All that value should shoot to the ground, guys. Making obviously it a lot more affordable to live in like these more populated areas. I get that also, right? But we're at a time where we kind of need that. Inflation is is rampant, right? Wages are stagnant, guys. People can't afford these things. Again, look at the median income, and you'll instantly understand that people can't afford these things at all.
Beaux-Arts office building. We finished the conversion in 2019. There, for instance, we made a lot of structural modifications. As an office building, it had old mechanical systems that took up basically the entire roof area. When we're making those major structural modifications, it's to allow for really high quality amenities.
The Post Brothers portfolio
Nice.
includes 12 buildings in the Mid-Atlantic with plans for expansion.
We're generally 96% occupied at all places, and there might be 1 or 2 weeks where there's downtime between the old tenant and the new tenant. That's what we call frictional vacancy. So that's really the only vacancy we have.
Right. 96% full on all their buildings. Okay, so there are people that can afford it, obviously, right? But those are probably second homes by that standard, guys. If they're paying $6,500, I am not sure that that's probably their only place of residency, guys. That may just be, I'm going to the city. I'm going, hang out in the apartment. I'm guessing that's not helping, bro.
There's a very different story unfolding in office districts.
Office vacancy rates are pretty high right now in terms of historical context. The highest that we ever recorded, and that was 19.3% vacancy rate on average. And that was a really stressed period. New York's hovering around 12, 13% right now.
That's a bad sign for investors.
Some of the office REIT stocks have been really hammered, down over 50%, just because of the back to work, which is not going as well as some might have expected.
How the streets feel in downtowns has changed a lot in the past 3 years. Not all of those changes are permanent. It is necessary for downtowns and cities to address that perception.
Though many offices are quiet, they're not completely empty. That's a challenge for developers.
I think the actual vacancy status or occupancy status is really the single most important prerequisite for conversion, much more so than, for instance, the physical layout.
Right, because you have to wait for the contracts to end.
Systems or anything like that. If there's not a clear path to emptying out the office tenants, it really can't be converted to apartments.
Bro, there's a clear path. This is what you do. I'll tell you how to do it. All right? Like, just how the developers generally target, struggling families. This is how you do it, bro. Right? Raise the rent. You own the building now, right? You want them to go so you can convert it? Raise the rent on them. Say, listen, rent control is done. In Manhattan, it's done. No more of that nonsense. This is what we're going to do. Well, not for commercial businesses. Let's say that. Your contract was 5 years? No problem, bro. Well, we're raising your rent right now. Take it or leave it. Oh, you want to leave? No problem. Go. Here's a door. Right? Treat them like you guys would treat, people that have like modular homes. Like when these developers go in and they buy like the land underneath trailer parks, right? Where people are probably spending maybe $100, $200 a month, and that may include utilities. So what these developers do is they go in there and they tell the people, now, I own this land, welcome, right? And they do nothing to the land at all, right? But all they do is steadily raise that rent every single month, guys. Or every other month they start going up a couple $100 or maybe $20, $50 or so, whatever it is, until the people there can no longer afford to even live there. They leave, right? A lot of them end up leaving the house that they were living in, so that basically gets, sold apparently, or maybe by the landowners, guys. But what happens is that once everyone leaves, they tear everything down and then build a subdivision. That's what they do. That's how they force people out out of their homes and lands, guys. So do the same thing to these wealthy corporations. Just saying.
When a developer looks for an office to convert, they're looking for certain criteria. For example, older buildings tend to make for better conversions.
Guys, I would say the 20s and 30s, but maybe the 40s, maybe Manhattan.
But the typical U.S. office is newer, bigger, and not vacant enough to be converted yet. These are massive problems for city mayors.
We have millions of square feet of unused office spaces that is right now ready to be converted into housing. This just makes sense.
Office vacancies also affect government finances. New York City offices generate roughly $6 billion in taxes each year.
School districts will tend to rely
money.
heavily upon property taxes.
Right.
The transit authorities like MTA in New York will tend to
Property
rely
taxes.
a little bit more on property tax.
Right.
New York has experimented with office conversions in the past. In the years after September 11th, a wave of these projects rippled across lower Manhattan.
We looked historically, and going back to 2000, and the number of conversions we were able to identify that did happen in New York. There's 50-something of them, and it turned out to be about 2.5 conversions per year.
Well, there's no question that rule changes in Lower Manhattan help to spur new life in that part of the city. And, you know, the result has been a success. The residential population has tripled.
That created 10.
At what rate though, bro? How much you charge these people? Because it's probably like 10, like lower Manhattan, bro. Let me see. Hold on, guys. Maybe $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for literally nothing.
Of thousands of new units and really turned
That's not beneficial.
the Battery and that surrounding area into a residential neighborhood.
The government's policies can determine whether or not these projects happen. In Manhattan, commercial buildings generally can take up more space than residential ones. That condition, and many others, can change the financial outlook of a project.
So the number one issue in New York is zoning. Washington, D.C., for instance, they have kind of very technocratically thought out the zoning, and you can effectively convert any office building by right to residential. In New York, that's very much not the case right now.
Right.
And unfortunately in New York, the zoning is dictated at the state level, not the city level. So there's been a lot of fights with, in New York trying to get this changed. There's a lot of people paying attention to the issue.
This is what it takes to get it done. People are reading through 50,000 pieces of paper to actually get housing built in our city.
If we have zoning rules and other impediments which are keeping housing from being constructed, shame on us, especially when you are so seriously seeing people suffering in New York City and beyond.
In Philadelphia, a 10-year tax abatement brought more development downtown.
Oh!
This policy saved home renovators and investors more than $1 billion in taxes.
Oh, 2018. Bro, bring that back right now. Guys, listen. Bring that tax abatement. This is the exact everything. Put that in Memphis right now. We will all go back and we will literally rebuild Memphis. Put that in St. Louis. We will rebuild and gentrify St. Louis, Memphis, and Chicago, I would say. Give us a tax abatement for these areas, and you will have investors running in there and changing the entire cultural norm of whatever the area is, guys. I'm telling you. But I think that would be for the better, because all the areas I just mentioned are absolutely ridden with crime, right? So, all right, let's get it. We could change it. We could change these
over
areas
half of those breaks
with a
went to
solid
owners
tax
of
abatement.
high-value properties.
If it was a
Guys, because those houses, I'm sorry, stop. It's important here, right? A tax abatement in these areas would be great because a lot of the property first of all, it's an extremely depressed area. Is that a good, sound investment? Probably not, right? But like for the purpose of like building a portfolio out, like once the area can change, it'll be a good, solid investment, I would think. But I think enough people would have to rush in there, like buying up all the depressed property that's sitting there at like what $10,000, $12,000, $20,000, guys, right? For a house sitting on some land. If enough people were to do it, I think it could probably be beneficial. But we would just need to weed out kind of all the crime from these guys. Matter of fact, this is not a good idea, right? I would never tell anyone to invest in like a depressed area, guys. As a matter of fact, but I do think that a tax abatement in these areas could potentially change a good amount of like the local issues.
Conversion, you basically were taxed on the value of the shell that you bought, but not any of the money you put into fixing it up. So that's been hugely valuable.
Post Brothers has 2 major conversions in the works in D.C., where the local government also wants to increase tax breaks for downtown developers.
That's Washington. I think that is frankly one of the easier markets.
Okay.
When you look at, for instance, the West Coast markets. San Francisco has the highest GDP per person of any metropolitan region in the country.
Okay.
Office buildings there just 4 years ago were valued, north of $1,200 a foot. 4 years ago, it had the highest residential rents in the country, higher than Manhattan. We don't think San Francisco is going anywhere, or there will be a huge opportunity set in downtown San Francisco.
Bro, you can
Critics
keep
of these
that.
policies say they're unnecessary developer handouts. Supporters hope the additional supply will calm the housing markets in expensive major cities.
Yeah, it
The
would.
U.S. needs about 7 million more market rate homes at affordable price points for extremely low income renters.
The vast majority of people who are eligible to receive housing assistance never receive any. The scale of the problem is much bigger than the resources that
Are available.
most governments at any level are prepared to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
500,000 new apartment units needed in New York by 2030 in order to remain kind of an equilibrium between supply and demand. We only forecast 38,000 more per year going up to there, which will fall well short of that 500,000.
Right.
And it's important that we enable this opportunity for the sake of our commercial office stock and for the opportunity to create new housing. But we do project that over the next 10 years, we could create 10 to 20,000 units of housing. And that is our best projection, but also we recognize that a lot of this is due to will relate to factors that are well outside our control. Questions like interest rates, questions like an individual property owner's risk tolerance or building layout. So we know that there's real complexity here. Our rules are in the way and we need to fix that.
Right. Okay. Listen. All right. With 20,000, that's not enough, bro. Listen. If I was running the city planner, if I was a city planner of Manhattan, I would easily say this here, guys. Listen. Let's just go ahead and do this. If I had it my way, at least. Let's just go ahead and dump 5 million new houses or like new condos and apartments in Manhattan, just so we can make it so it's affordable, right? Or maybe not even Manhattan. I would even go as far to say, bro, like Bronx, Harlem, right? Just build more stuff, bro, right? I mean, I guess it's hard to say because of it's hard to say in Manhattan. You can't just like build more, right? But maybe we need to start building out into like Nassau County or something, more so than we already are, right? Go out to Nassau, go out to even Suffolk County, guys, right? And I think these things would be beneficial, right? Like, guys, Long Island is big. I grew up on Long Island. I'll tell you right now, I don't think we need that much backyard, bro. All right, guys, I'm just gonna give you an example. All right, like we actually have land on Long Island, in comparison, definitely, guys. And maybe we just need more people, or people just need to stay away from Manhattan. All right, guys, it's crowded, we're full, type of thing. But all right, guys, listen. Guys, let me know your opinions. Do you think it's a good idea that all these office buildings are going to be converted into into apartments or maybe condos, guys? Right? My personal opinion is I think that it's a great idea. We just need more of it. I think that we could fix the entire market. Now, oh God, I'm trying to think of a way that people just won't like lose all their invested money though. God, because like guys, if we dump like 50 million houses across the United States of America onto the market right now, the house values will plummet everywhere, right? Guys, it's a whole lot of empty space in Montana. Guys, I think we need to start building just build things in Montana. Just have fun, right? There's no reason why they're selling people like 1,000 acres of land, okay? I'm just saying, all right? You could easily put a lot of people within that land. That's it. But all right, listen, just a thought. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. And if you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. All right.